So I said I was going to dress up for this review, but I just got lazy, threw on a t-shirt, and I'm doing the review. If you want to know what I was Ryan Gosling from Only God Forgives. I was Julian all day long in that tight vest and that really uncomfortable costume. So, sorry I'm not wearing it now.
You want to fight?
What's going on, filmheads? I'm the Modern Film Critic. Happy Halloween! Yeah, this is really, really late at night. You're probably all in bed, and you're probably watching this Halloween morning. Sorry about that. I had a lot to do today. I'm the Modern Film Critic, and you guessed it, we are talking about Halloween movies. Well, not Halloween movies, horror movies that you should watch on Halloween. I'll be talking about some good ones, some bad ones, and this isn't planned. None of this is scripted. This is all just, I honestly was like, you know what, I'm just going to set the camera down and we're going to talk about horror movies, and whatever I say, raw, whatever. You guys, hope you enjoy it. So this is the Modern Film Critics Halloween special. I'm going to get into some of my favorite horror movies, starting off with The Omen, the original, not the remake. We'll get to that later. The Omen is a amazing, amazing film starring Gregory Peck. It's one of those films that stuck with me for such a long time because of one thing. There was one thing that stuck with me, and that was the soundtrack. Every time I talk about The Omen, I have to talk about the soundtrack to this film. It is absolutely brilliant, and it adds so much. I've never heard such a great soundtrack that added the fear in the actual movie, and this movie did it. It's got some great moments of it's scary, it's dark. If you don't know what it's about, it is about this woman who gives birth to a baby that is pretty much the spawn of Satan. You pretty much know the story of The Omen. If you have seen the remake, I'm sorry. If you have seen the original, you know what I'm talking about. This is a great horror film, and it's sort of overshined or overshadowed by The Exorcist. Everyone thinks old horror film, Exorcist, not old horror film, The Omen. It is, like I said, I think it's overshadowed just a tad by The Exorcist. I'm not saying The Exorcist is a bad film. I love The Exorcist as well, and we'll get to that later. But as of now, The Omen is my favorite horror film of all time. And now, since we're on the topic of The Omen, let's talk about the remake. It is one of the worst remakes of all time. Some of those people have those remakes that are like Jason X films that are fun to watch, but they're really, really bad. See, here's the thing with me. My list of the worst horror remake and sequels and things like that are based on rewatchability. Movies like Jason X and a lot of those really, really bad remakes, but are also really fun to watch because they're so bad, doesn't really make the cut for me because that's fun to watch. The Omen is painful to watch because they pretty much took The Omen, the highly successful film back in the 60s. I think it was the 60s or 70s, I'm sorry. And they just modernized it for modern audiences. They put jump scares in there. They put the acting is pretty awful in it. Yeah, like I said, they just gave it to they threw it on there, stuck the title on there, and was like, "Give me your money, give me your ticket prices." And that's what they got, honestly. And it was just one of those movies that it was hard to watch because it was so sad to see such a great film pretty much stepped on. And like I said, the first Omen is fantastic. I have not seen any of the sequels. There are a lot. I hear some of them are actually pretty decent, kind of like The Exorcist, how there's a lot of sequels. A lot of them suck, but some of them are actually pretty good. I have not seen any Omen sequels. I have seen the remake, unfortunately, and steer clear of that one. The Omen, one of my favorites of all time. Like it's brilliant. It is a brilliant horror film. Talking about horror films, we've got to talk about The Exorcist. I know, like I said, this video is probably going to be all over the place. So you're talking about this and you talk about that, but I mean, it's just my thoughts. It's just my free thought coming out. And The Exorcist is one of the movies that when you're sitting on the couch at Halloween, you're thinking, what can I watch that's easily accessible? And I can see it on somewhere online, or I probably got a version of it somewhere in my DVD collection. The Exorcist, which actually just came out on DVD, came out on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital download in a box set 2 weeks ago. I'm investing in that. It's like $40. I will eventually get it. I love The Exorcist. I love the use of the practical effects. I love this movie. I don't like it as much as The Omen, because it didn't stick with me as much as The Omen. But like I said, the ending scene where she's tied on the bed, very, very, very scary, very just hard to watch. much like The Omen, The Exorcist. And I'm going to bring you I would probably, definitely a 5 out of 5 for me as well. The Omen. It's pretty much pointless to score these movies. I love all of these movies. We're going to talk about Rosemary's Baby next, and if you have not seen my review for it, I actually reviewed it on the We Live Film channel. So if you want to go into an in-depth analysis of Rosemary's Baby, well, not analysis, an in-depth review of Rosemary's Baby, go check it out. I'll put the link in the description. We Live Film, go check it out. I did an awesome review for that, and I love this movie. Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, and The Omen are the 3 old horror films that I love and are dear to my heart. Yeah, that sounds weird. Disgusting horror movie are so close to my heart. It's such a fun movie because it does not rely on jump scares. It relies on tension and things unseen. There are a lot of the reactions to things that you don't see what they're reacting to, but the reactions alone are so terrifying, and you just imagine it. And sometimes imagining what they're seeing is worse than actually seeing it yourself, because that happens quite a lot in this movie. And it's not really a visually compelling film. There isn't a lot of there's not a lot of different visuals. It's pretty much a straightforward movie. And honestly, if you watch the movie on silent, I always thought this was interesting. Someone put this in a great way. If you watched Rosemary's Baby on silent, you would think it's like a normal old drama film, because there's no crazy visuals, there's no things like that. It's all dialogue and all, like I said, all tension based on the unseen. It is a wonderful film, definitely a 5 out of 5, and Mia Farrow's best film. I love Rosemary's Baby, love The Omen, love The Exorcist, but since I got that out of the way, let's talk about some crap. Unfortunately, we have to, because we're talking about horror movies, and unfortunately, there is a lot of crap. Starting off with all 76 Saw movies. I love the first Saw film. Love it. And it's one of those movies when I first saw it, I was like, they need to leave it at this, leave it ambiguous. James Wan is great as always in his directing, but no, they had to keep pushing it. And I was like, they're going to come up with a million sequels to this, and they did, even after Jigsaw died. I love the first one, a great psychological thriller. 2 guys in a bathroom, they don't know how they got there, they got clues on how to get out, and you're guessing the whole way, why is that dead body in the floor, and what's its purpose? And it is a awesome movie. Definitely my favorite James Wan film. It beats Insidious. I love The Conjuring to death. I liked Saw better than that. Saw is probably, it's my favorite James Wan film of all time. One of my favorite horror films. Modern horror films of all time, definitely. I love Saw. If you have not seen the Saw movie, the first one, go check it out. 2 and 3 aren't terrible, but after that you get completely confused. They throw new characters in the mix, and it's just nothing but, I'm just watching this for the torture scenes. That's all it comes down to when it comes to the 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. No, this is 7. I don't even know, I don't care. Don't even bother. Watch the first one. Check out the second and third one, they're interesting too. I love the Saw series. And, like I said, it went down, 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 and down. Leading me up to the next thing I'm going to be talking about is Paranormal Activity. I know I'm talking about a lot of modern horror films, but, like I said, this is all just rolling off the top of my head. I'm talking about the horror movies that stand out to me right now, what I'm thinking, what I'm wanting to watch right now on Halloween, but I can't because I'm so busy doing this review and job and school and whatever. Paranormal Activity 1, 2, and 3. The 4th one was definitely one of the worst films of last year. Wait, did I say the 3rd one? I don't know. The 4th one is one of the worst films I've seen of last year, and it was so disappointing. I loved the 1st one, I loved the 2nd one, and the 3rd one is definitely my favorite of the Paranormal Activity films. I think the 3rd one is terrifying, and watch it with a group of friends, and you will have a great time watching all 3 of them. In all honesty, I planned on watching all 3 of them today during Halloween, but couldn't get to it, unfortunately. But it's okay, because I can do that whenever I want, because I've got a box set. Not bragging, just saying. Great movies. The 4th one now is just, you can so tell that they were like, the 3rd one made a bunch of money, we can't stop now, we gotta keep going till the franchise eventually dies off, so let's just put it in space. No, they don't put it in space, but still, it's completely ridiculous, and there's so many bad jump scares. Like, they overdo it with the fake jump scares. There were 1 or 2 actually legitimately scary moments in the film, mostly towards the end, but there were some moments where I was laughing because it was so bad, and it's mostly really just boring. And I really hope this Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, is interesting. It looks interesting, it looks different, it kind of looks like Chronicle. If you saw my review, I don't think it looks bad. I think it has potential. I don't think it's going to be awful. I think it has potential. The acting looks horrendous, but I think the movie actually does have some potential. And we also have Paranormal Activity 5 coming out next year as well, so you've got 2 shots, guys. 2 shots not to mess this up again. If you do, I'm done. You've made 3 great movies, 1 bad one. I still have faith in you. That's just a bump in the road. Keep going. Go back to what you were doing in 1, 2, and 3, and let's get back on track. Let's get this going and maybe end it off with 5. But please, if these 2 end up being awful, I give up. I give up on this franchise altogether. I still have hope. And like I said, if you're not a fan of the found footage films, then you're not gonna love this franchise at all. Like the Blair Witch Project, which is also another really, really good horror film, which kind of started the whole found footage type thing. It's 1999. Man, that's weird. That's 14 years ago. Whew. 14 years ago. It is a great found footage movie. It's got tension. They're in the woods. If you don't know what it's about, it is about the Blair Witch. They're in the woods. They're hunting for it, and some crazy things happen that I still remember today. And it's so terrifying. But at the same time, it's so well shot and so good. And a lot of people hate it. Like I said, if you hate shaky cam, if you hate found footage films, you'll hate it. You know what you like, and obviously if you don't like it, you're not going to like the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity and VHS and movies like that. For one, I like the found footage genre. I think you can do a lot with it. Recently, they've been kind of just going through the motions until Chronicle came out, and they sort of changed it up. I enjoyed Chronicle. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. And like I said, the found footage, it is getting a little bit overused now, but I mean, it's whatever. Modern horror these days, honestly, it's getting a little bit too repetitive, and horror films these days especially has such a bad name because it's known for the jump scares. It's so formulaic. But The Conjuring came out this year, and I loved The Conjuring. It was cliche. It had the run-of-the-mill horror stuff going on. But James Wan's direction and camera work and score was so good. This man knows how to film horror. And it's not really the payoff that's scary. It's the tension. It's everything leading up to that moment. And he hates jump scares. And I'm like, you're the man. You know how to direct horror. Jump scares, that's a big no-no for me. But then he comes out and says, I'm taking a break from horror. And I was like, we need you, James Wan. You are one of the best horror directors today. If you don't know who he is, he did Saw, The Conjuring, Insidious, Death Proof. What else did he do? I'm blanking right now. I'm sorry. But he is a great horror director. And and Dead Silence, which is a very, very underrated horror film, which is also really, really good. James Wan is probably one of my favorite directors today. He is now doing Fast and the Furious 7 coming out next year. I believe it's next year. And like I said, he's taking a break. I hope he comes back. I pray he comes back because he knows how to do horror. He knows how to he knows how to move the camera. He has some crazy visuals in The Conjuring, and it's great. Another movie I would like to talk about while it's still fresh on my mind, You're Next. Didn't have a lot of hopes for this film. It came out in 2011 and it got so many good reviews. Why it was not released till 2013, I don't know, but I loved it. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. It is a slasher film. It is cliche. It is so over the top, but it knows that. It is self-aware. And when a movie is nothing but a straight up slasher flick and tries to be more than that, that's when it fails. But You're Next, I mean, look at the title, You're Next. That's so good if you do it right, and it does it perfect. It knows what it is. It knows exactly what it is. It tries to have a high body count, and it works. It's so much fun in the movies. It's got a pop song playing while everyone's dying. It is such a fun movie to watch because it's so self-aware, and I battle between which one do I like better, You're Next or The Conjuring. The Conjuring definitely has more depth and it has more, tension, while this is more straight up fun. And it's sort of like a Home Alone for horror fans. It goes a step further, and it's like Home Alone if Home Alone was rated R. It's very, very good, and it's reminiscent of old things. I think it reminisces towards The Shining, which is another great film. If you saw my rewind reviews, you saw that I really, really love 2001: A Space Odyssey, directed by Stanley Kubrick. That is my first favorite film by him, but my number 2 would have to be The Shining. You can analyze it all day long. It is such a good horror film. Shot great, acting's great. It's terrifying. how great his performance was in this film. Jack Nicholson, man, he's so good. And it's a movie that, like I said, you can talk to your friends for hours about it. They made a whole documentary about it. It's such a controversial film on how it was made and what all happened during production. If you have not seen The Shining, go check out one of Stanley Kubrick's best films of all time, because it truly is. It is so good. And when I watch horror, I don't think of things like modern day. I'm always like, yeah, The Shining, The Omen, things like that, because I try to ignore movies like The Apparition or The Possession or things like that, because I understand why people are tired of the horror genre. Like I said earlier, it's everything is the same now. There's nothing different in the works. I'm waiting for that one horror film to just blow me away, and that's what The Conjuring did, honestly. Like I said, James Wan knows how to direct horror films, and I was waiting, anticipating this film, and it shed a new light on horror, because it showed that it's not dead. There can be good horror films made. You just gotta take your time with it. You can't rush it at all, because if you rush it, you're just gonna lead you to cliches that is in every other horror film, and you gotta take your time with it, because it is hard. It is hard to make a good horror film, because it has been done a million times before, and I love horror films a lot. Is it my favorite drama? Is it my favorite genre? Probably not, because like I said earlier, it's just so riddled with cliches and things like that. But every once in a while, we get a gem. Probably about once or twice a year, we get a good, a good horror film coming out. And unfortunately, Carrie was the last one of the year, and it left me off with a bad taste. But like I said, guys, the horror genre, it can be done well, and movies like The Conjuring and You're Next and things like that does show that it can be more than movies like The Purge, which was completely awful, and it can be different. And like I said, for all of you horror fans out there, let me know what your favorite horror film is. I'm sure I skipped a ton of movies that you guys are, why didn't you talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Why didn't you talk about Halloween, because it's Halloween? I know I skipped a bunch, but this is just ones that were fresh off my mind. I just wanted to just talk in front of the camera about my favorite horror films. And like I said, yeah, I love Halloween. I love movies like that, but I mean, I'm just going to be saying, yeah, it's a classic. It's a good, like that. These are just the movies that stood out for me during this time. I'm sure when I'm laying down in bed, I'm like, why didn't I talk about that movie? Or I should have probably mentioned that, and someone's going to remind me of a movie that I should have talked about. But like I said, I can't go over every horror film that I've seen and talk about it in an hour and a half long video. These are just the ones that stuck out to me. I just wanted to let you guys know my thoughts. Nothing wrong with that. Let me know what your favorite horror films are, and were there any on the list that you particularly enjoyed or hated? Maybe you hate Paranormal Activity. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section on why you do. And happy Halloween, guys, and make sure you stay safe. And let me know what you dressed up as. If you got any movie references in your Halloween costume, let me know, like I did with Julian. So, like I said, stay safe and happy Halloween. I'm the Modern Film Critic, signing off.